In my 500 subscriber special video, I said a couple things, one of those things being the only way to summon things infinitely in the enemy team is with Lunarctic. Considering the premise of that video was infinite summons in the enemy team, and that statement was just flat out false, I am here to once again revisit getting infinite enemy reinforcements because since then I've made a couple revelations. The biggest one is that Lunarctic is not the only monster that can summon infinitely in the enemy team. The reason I thought that was the case was because I just sort of assumed that, like, because Motor Dragon and, like, Rhino-L have Unmovable, that, like, basically the developers intended for every disruption monster to not be able to be abused in that way. However, that was contradicted by, like, literally in that video where I'm saying that Lunarctic is the only monster that can do this. In that video, I keep knocking back the enemy's Voodoo, and Voodoo keeps entering and gives me a bunch of reinforcements. I even comment on how many Voos are in my reinforcements at the end of the battle, while also saying that Lunarctic and, like, repeatedly knocking back monsters is the only way. So that was clearly wrong. And I said, let me fix that. Let me rectify this mistake. So here we are with actual infinite, not gonna take me like years and years. Actually, this entire video took me less time than it did to make that 500 subscriber special. So this is actual infinite enemy reinforcements, and it is all thanks to Thug Bruno with infinite sendback. He's the only monster in the game that has this. I was thinking about other people that could potentially do this. There's like a Kane has takeoff, which is like technically an unlimited step back, which I could like use for something else potentially. It wouldn't work with this because I need to actually pull back Voodoo. Voodoo can't pull back himself. But this is the way to do it. So I started and I was like, okay, I will stun him super far out of play, use Yukiana to put one of them to sleep so that Drake can keep 3 of the monsters out of play, and then I'll just use Thug Bruno to send back the Voodoo every time he enters. Fyriel was there to get rid of the monsters I didn't need, and, you know, eventually she creates a bunch of rocks in my team, but you'll see later in this clip I figure out how to rectify that. I can just use Sacrifice Heal so that I don't have to, like, go through the rockoids to get back to the Tezcatl. Or Tezlopika. If you remember that video I did a while back, I was using Vixian, and I had to, like, keep killing off the bronze shells, but that would summon 2 bronze shells, so the Tezlopika eventually would go, like, way far back in the reinforcements, and I had to kill a ton of bronze shells to get back to him. However, with Fyriel, since she's killing one monster to summon one monster, that, like, infinite, like, summon thing doesn't happen, so I don't have to worry about that. But yeah, just keep sending back, keep stunning, and eventually, right, these enemy reinforcements will go up to infinity. It just depends on how long I'm willing to sit here clicking the same buttons over and over and over. Now you may be wondering, like, how long did this take? And like I said, it took less time than the last one, but it still took about, like, I don't know, maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours maybe, which all things considered is not that bad. I think right around this is the time when I realized, like, wait, I could just sacrifice heal to get rid of the bronze shells. Or maybe this isn't the time when I realized that, but I should realize it soon, because it's a much faster strategy. Oh, maybe not. Maybe I'm just ignorant. As with the Lunarctic, my game knowledge is filled with oversights. But this will be, I'll make that discovery soon enough. There were a couple things that I thought about trying in this video that I didn't get around to ever since the old Infinite days. Like, things just take a lot longer because you can't stun them super far out of play. Longer, like, in-game seconds, not in, like, actual real-world time. This is where I realized it. Yeah, there we go. Start the Sacrifice Heal. But I wanted to see if, like, Dream of Snow would go away, because if you remember way back, like, I discovered that certain things go away, like the battle kind of resets at 100,000 seconds. So, like, Accelerate wears off, There were a couple other things I don't remember, but I do want to test that eventually. Like if you have a mortar loaded, if you have stealth or Dream of Snow, for example, will those wear off after 100,000 seconds? And the answer to that is I don't know. This challenge only got me up to about 50,000, because it just, even though I'm going on for a long time, since I'm not stunning monsters for like 20,000 seconds now, a big skip isn't going to put me super far behind. It's going to put me a couple hundred behind. But now this is where I finally got into the groove of there's no more rockoids. I can just keep doing this, send back, send back, stun, etc. Eventually, I realized like I've got one guy sleeping, and Marrow Drake can keep 3 monsters out of play forever. So I stopped like waiting for the Tezalopeca stun and just sent him back because I could. And here I'm at 97, as you can see. We're building up to that 100 number, which was my goal last time. But now, like, this took me, I don't know, 15 minutes to get to 99 and 100 for something that previously took me, like I said, 2.5 hours, if not longer. So, super cool with that. We got 101. Now you may be thinking, Evan, aren't there other monsters that summon on entrance? And I answer, yes, there are. So this is another oversight that I had when I came around to fixing my first oversight, is that I could just do this with multiple summon monsters, right? So what I did is I went to the filter and I searched summon, and then using the new text search filter, which is so helpful, I typed unmovable, and then I exit out. So it gave me all the summon monsters that aren't unmovable. So it took out Rhinoel, it took out Motor Dragon, but it kept people like Tinkerclaws and Voodoo and Jacqueline. Jacqueline actually would have been the best choice because she summons 3, Voodoo only summons 2. But this was the final team that I settled on. There were a couple other monsters like the Steamhawk, the 5-star with unwelcome entrance. There were a couple people with mutual unwelcome entrance, but I didn't want to have to deal with like using Rockoid Morph and then the Sacrifice Heal again. It just didn't feel worth it to me. So here, I skipped ahead a little bit to all the way to 999. You saw I slowed down there when we got to 100, but we're at, I think that it's so small I can barely read it. 997 is where we're at right now. But this was much more streamlined than the last one. You see that Horror Cub this is a different front line, right? When whatever that fully evolved form is of Horror Cub came in, he protected, which was bad because that means cornered stuns can't go around, so I had to use Devolve from Fireel and then put him to sleep with Yukihime, which I didn't show the setup of, but you get the point. So here's 999, send the Jacqueline back, finally get to 1001 reinforcements. This, if you look at the seconds, 58,000 was a much, much, much more streamlined, much easier way of getting infinite enemy reinforcements. No oversights, no nothing. Just me and unlimited send back doing our thing. And now, again, like the other video, I tried to kill through the team. It was a whole lot of tokens. I thought about just like putting it on auto battle and like going to watch TV or something, but I was worried that like Jacqueline would use Sprout conversion on one of the people, and that was worrisome. Although in hindsight, I slowed it down a little bit here so you could see kind of my thought process of like, how do I kill actual monsters? Guardian Demise does crazy damage in battles like this. So that would have easily one-shot the Atrahasis. The missing health from Squash didn't matter. I remember in my Kujira Island, Master of Kujira Island video, I talked about Jacqueline and was like, I might want to figure out how to use her in an Ultimate Challenge team. Since this video, this one that I'm recording right now, I realized that won't work because, as you saw, she only did like 18,000 to that Atrahasis, which is not viable. But Fireel, though, low-key, might be viable because Guardian Demise does crazy damage. So at this point, I've got 3 monsters left, and I'm thinking, I've got 2 monsters left, and I'm thinking, how on earth am I going to kill this Tortogeist? The answer is I can't, because no matter what, he's going to end up taking one of my monsters, and he still has like 8 other super buffed monsters somewhere back there among the hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of Vine Eyes and Boxjaws and Voos. So when I lost Marrow Drake, I knew it was pretty much over, but I gave it my best shot trying to win this battle. Although the battle ended in defeat, the real victory was the knowledge we made along the way. Infinite enemy reinforcements is possible, and much easier when you're not doing a bunch of knockbacks with Lunarctic and actually realize that there are 3 perfectly good monsters that you can use and 1 perfectly good monster with infinite sendback. So that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. As always, infinites are so fun. You see I have my own team for it. Hope you enjoyed, and I'll see you all in the next one.